So if you've been following our blog or our Facebook and Instagram pages, you'll know that the weather conditions in Texas made it such that we were stuck there for a while, and the team decided to take a little break. We decided to spend Memorial Day weekend in Santa Fe, so we found a campground there and had a great time. But we were very close to Moriarty, and that's somewhere that Eric had wanted to fly, so we spent Saturday down there, and Eric got to take a flight there while the rest of the team took a nice guided tour of the Southwest Soaring Museum. We had a great time, got a lot of information, and had just a lot of fun, while Eric got to fly at a site he has been wanting to fly out in Moriarty.
Moriarty is somewhere I've wanted to fly for a long time. It's one of the closest spots that you can say is in the West for someone who lives in the East. And it has a reputation for good soaring conditions, high altitudes, strong lift, the ability to fly hundreds of miles in a day. So it was near the top of my list for a long time of places in the West to fly. The locals were all very nice at Moriarty, took good care of me, helped guide me through what I needed to do. And the launch was fine, but it's high elevation there. It's a little over 6,000 feet. We were launching with a direct crosswind, so my downwind wing hit the ground and rolled a good ways before getting enough airspeed for it to lift. But that was not uncommon that day for other launches. That's just a problem with a crosswind launch in high elevation especially.
Thank you for the tow. Well, I've been in the air for about an hour. The first thermal was really tough. I moved over toward the clouds, climbed up, ran down the clouds over there toward Santa Fe, and now I'm jumping out into the blue where I put my start point, and I just tagged the start. And my task runs roughly off in this direction. It may not have been a good choice of task lines, I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot for a while. Man, the air has been really bumpy. But I've been as high as 16,000 feet. Right now I'm at about 13, which puts me about 7,000 above takeoff at the moment. So let's see if I can connect a few little clouds to get me over to the good ones. I think that's what needs to happen for me to make my turn point. which is about 100 miles that way. Well, this little wispy cloud has been a good one for me. I've almost climbed 2,000 feet in it, just about to reach 16,000 feet, which is roughly 10,000 above the ground. And hopefully it gives me the altitude I need to reach the next little wispy cloud, which is not very close. Well, it's about 80 miles to my turn point. There's Moriarty, 10 to 15 miles that way, just beyond that green square patch with a couple of circles on this side of it. And I'm starting to make a fairly long jump through the blue to get over to where the good clouds are. Flight computer says I need 11,000 more feet to finish the task. And I like that my turn point is upwind, so if I find weak conditions up there, it won't be as hard to get back as if I went, 80 miles downwind. So things are looking pretty good. It's a little chilly up here. Glad I wore my long pants today. It's 31 degrees outside the cockpit right now. Fairly comfortable in here with the long pants and the vents closed. Not about 15,000 and change at the moment. Thought I'd let you share a bit of a really rowdy thermal. I'm at 14,500 feet. My climb rate is fluctuating fairly wildly between about 2 knots and 20 knots. So, you just have to be ready for anything. Sudden changes in airspeed, bank. It's rough. Averaging about 5 knots. So, still pretty good. I guess I can't ask for everything. Strong and smooth, huh? I'm almost halfway to the turn point, about 55 miles from it. And the flight computer says I need about 7,000 more feet to finish the task. A little over 2 more hours, it says I need. I see an overdeveloping cloud or batch of clouds in the direction of my turn point, though. So that could be a problem. It may just mean I cannot reach my turn point safely and have to abandon the task, but sometimes that happens. Alright, it's about time to go. Almost 16,000 feet. Well, I'm now just under 50 miles from the turn point. The turn point is about 10 degrees left of my nose. I don't like this cloud in front of me falling apart, and below me and to the left not much looks good toward the turn point. So I'm going to try this little cloud and see if I can eke my way around this mess to the right. I'm not hopeful though, because look at all those little broken pieces below me. That's generally not a good sign as far as the lift in that area. But I'll move around a little to the right, but I'm probably going to have to give up on this turn point because of where it is and what's happening in the weather around it and toward it. I'll give it a few more miles though. Well, I had to make a pretty big detour, a 60-degree detour for 10 miles or so probably, and my turn point is still 30 degrees off my nose, so right through there, just don't see good enough stuff there to have a high probability of making it there and getting out of there. So I'm afraid if I pressed on, I'd end up just landing in there somewhere, or at least not making it back to Moriarty. So I'm 36 miles from my turn point and I'm about to turn around. So we'll see what else I can do. straight at Moriarty at the moment. Just topped out at a little over 17,000 feet. And a strong one, averaged 8 or 9 knots. Now I'm heading out across a wide blue area. It might have been wiser to go that way, but we'll see. This is a straighter shot toward my finish point. I am going to at least tag the start/finish point so I can maybe get a record for what's called a free out and return. It's an out and return other than the one you declared before takeoff. And I should have 120 to 130 miles of that. I think it'll take the 13.5 meter class record for this state. We'll see. Looks interesting ahead. A lot of nothing for a long way as far as clouds go. Well, I finally found one after a pretty long glide. That's the direction I just came from. Haven't turned since I was at those clouds. I don't know what that is, maybe 15 miles. Finally found this one. It's down to a little over 14,000. Gained almost 1,000 feet in it so far. It's not much, but out in the blue, you take what you can get. Moriarty's back that direction, that's south. And when we come around in a minute, you'll see the mountains near Santa Fe. And I've been noticing the couple of days we've been here that every afternoon this sort of thing happens. So these are the mountains near Santa Fe. It just overdevelops in here. There's too many clouds, they rain. You can see rain falling from several of these clouds. So I'm not going to press straight back in toward the mountains, but I might go up around the edge here, head a little farther north before I turn back for Moriarty. Well, I guess I'm just taking a tour of South Santa Fe. There's the Santa Fe Airport. And that's the town of Santa Fe. And you can see why I'm sweeping way out to the left here, to the west, because of all that rain. I have no desire to fly through that. It'll make the wings wet. The glide performance will go down the toilet. So I prefer to keep the wings dry. But I'm going to mosey around it there, maybe fly up into there for a bit before I turn around and go back to Moriarty. At about 16,000 feet right now. I'm thermaling almost right over Santa Fe now. About 46 miles north of Moriarty. 16,000 feet. Just climbing through 17,000 feet, 51 miles north of Moriarty. Just a touch north of Santa Fe proper, on the north side of Santa Fe, I guess you'd say. I'm about ready to head back south.
Uniform Mike, stop.
It's cold up here.
We'll land on 26 Moriarty.
It's about 3 hours till sunset, and it looks like I've blundered upon my nearest Dust Devil sighting today, right there. It's a good looking one. Well, this was a nice find. It's been in the air, I don't know, 4 hours. It's a little less than 3 hours till sunset, and this is the best thermal I've found all day. It's averaged 8.5 knots, gained 2,400 feet in it so far, and I'm creeping up on 18,000 feet, which I can't legally exceed. So I'm about to leave this thermal to keep from exceeding 18,000 feet. It sneaked up on me there. I'm at 17.9. Trying to go fast to get out of it. Fun stuff. And Albuquerque is over in this direction. I was hoping to get a chance to see Albuquerque from the air, so the team is close to an hour away. So I'm gonna wait and stay up till they get back to the airport. So might as well use this time in altitude to go see Albuquerque. Well, a minute ago when I pointed to Albuquerque, I was pointing that way. I was wrong. I zoomed out on my map a little. Albuquerque was off my right wing, so there it is, just over this mountain. Maybe 20 miles away. Here's a look at Albuquerque. Straight ahead, about 17 miles out, is the Albuquerque International Airport. And just to the right is most of the town of Albuquerque. And I'm about, just for reference, I'm about 5 miles from the highest part of these mountains here. And I think that is Sandia Peak or Crest. There's a national laboratory there. Paraglider pilots, I think, fly there, maybe hang gliders. But that is Albuquerque. The center of the town is about 15 miles from here. I'm at a little over 15,000 feet. There's Moriarty. I'm about to go down there and land after a little over a 5-hour flight. It is about an hour and a half till sunset. Moriarty traffic, glider expected through final 417 Moriarty.
The forecast for the day was, I believe it was 5 to 10 mile per hour winds, increasing to 15 to 25, which is a pretty unusual forecast for me. Where I fly normally, there was no front coming through or storms or anything that I could see, but it happened. So by the time I came into land, that crosswind that was just a mild nuisance at takeoff had become really strong. So I landed on the crosswind runway, which means a less convenient taxi back to break down, but it was windy. I floated down to the ground, was bleeding off speed. A gust picked me up. I had to bleed that off, then another gust, and did this 2 or 3 times before finally having a nice soft touchdown. But it was kind of a wild, windy landing. As if the wind at landing wasn't strong enough, about the time we got the glider positioned and ready to take it apart, the wind increased even more. It was scary windy. There was a tent that the locals use that was straight upwind of us, a little shade tent they used to sit under during the day, and I just knew that thing was going to get ripped up and fly straight into the van and the glider and smash us. It was a really stressful disassembly. It must have been gusting over 30 miles an hour and sustained at close to 20, so it was difficult, and that was the most harrowing part of the day, was taking the glider apart. Fortunately, we did it without incident. Yeah, I definitely want to come back and fly Moriarty sometime, spend more than one day there. It did give up high altitudes, long flight, flew a few hundred miles, so it lived up to its reputation well enough. It was really turbulent during this flight, so I'd like to fly it a few more times and see if that was unusual or if that's just Moriarty. I don't know. So hopefully I'll go back and fly there again someday.